This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
It's Oh Behave with Arden Moore, the show that teaches you how to have harmony in the household with your pets. Join Arden as she travels coast to coast to help millions better understand why cats and dogs do what they do. Get the latest scoop on famous faces, their perfectly pampered pets, and who's walking who in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails. Garner great pet tips and have a doggone fur-flying fun time. So get ready for the pause and applause as we unleash your Oh Behave host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Road trip. Now, to many dogs, it really doesn't matter if hopping in the car with you results in a short trek through the fast food drive-thru or a week-long journey crossing several states. For many, their bodies are just wiggling with delight. Right, Kona? Yep, she's right here agreeing. And what about our feline friends? Now, some cats view car rides as perfect adventures, like my orange tabby, pet safety cat Casey, while others can become highly hysterical. So, how can we make car rides feel welcoming and safe for our dogs and cats? How can we minimize their sounds of protest or worse, those churning stomachs due to motion sickness? Listeners, you're in luck. Our special guest today is one of the world's top pet advocates and a doggone expert in all things pets. She has a very, very long and successful resume, but here's the short version. She's the go-to gal for national TV and radio shows on pet topics. I guess she has very strong typing fingers because she produces terrific pet blogs often, and she is an in-demand speaker. And yep, here's a fun fact. She's a former Tampa Bay Buccaneers cheerleader. Not with all the teasing. Please give pause and applause to the one and only Kristen Levine. Hey, welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank you, Arden. Thank you. It's so great to be here. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
All right. Rah, rah, rah.
Exactly. I was going to say it, but you did. Yeah. So good.
I'm an ex-sports writer who's covered a couple Super Bowls, but I didn't see you on the sidelines during those days. So we'll talk about that later in the show.
Okay.
But folks, so what we're going to do today, because our show is only a half hour and we really love that Kristen knows all things pets, we're going to focus on how to keep our pets safe, happy, and healthy on road trips. So we're going to dive in right after we take this commercial break. You guys know the drill. Sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. Oh Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Pet Life Radio, the #1 pet radio network on the planet, joins forces with iHeartRadio to put the power of your pets in your pocket. Awesome. Download the iHeartRadio app and rock Pet Life Radio on your phone, on your tablet, on your Xbox, in your car. Pet talk, pet tunes, and fun pet times. Pet Life Radio and iHeartRadio. Positively Possum.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Oh Behave is back with more tail-wagging ways to achieve harmony in the household with your pets. Now, back to your fetching host, America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave Show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Our special guest today is Kristen Levine. Now, she's a multi-talented pet expert and, I love this, pet advocate. So after the show, your homework is to go over to the Kristen Levine Pet Living site. It's at KristenLevine.com, KristenLevine. And check out her Facebook page. Discover for yourself all the things that Kristen is doing to better the lives of pets. Now, one of my favorite roles you play, Kristen, is being a pet parent to a sweet black senior lab mix named Chili.
Also known as Chili Bean Levine.
Ooh, I love that we give our nicknames to our pets. Tell what's the 411 on Chili Bean Levine?
Yeah, he is just one of the loves of my life, of course. He's, like you said, he's a senior, so he's going to be 10 years old in about 3 months. So I'm planning a big 10th birthday bash for him. Yeah, and he's a Dalmatian. He looks like a lab. He looks like a like a petite female lab, but he's actually Dalmatian, Boxer, Husky, and Australian Shepherd, according to our Wisdom Panel DNA test.
That's what Dr. Marty Becker calls a canine cocktail.
Exactly. Exactly. But he is just a sweetheart. And I'm missing him right now because I'm actually visiting my sister in Denver, Colorado. So he's home with a pet sitter. So I can't wait to get home to see him.
All right. Well, one thing I really like is on her site, folks, one of her mottos is feeling happier, healing faster, and living healthier with pets. That's her message that she wants to get out to the world. And since O-Behave is going all over the world, we even have loyal listeners in Singapore, Kristen.
Whoa, that's awesome.
I know. I think we need an airplane trip to Singapore, producer Mark Winter. Come on, let's make it happen. What I want to talk about today, though, is, we love to take our pets with us, and there's some common sense that's needed. But the nice thing is the pet industry market. I just came back from Global a few months ago. Oh, my dog. There was 7 football fields long of products, and there's always reinvention. And you've got folks like Dr. Marty Becker and yourself who are really getting the message out about fear-free and how to reduce fear, anxiety, and stress. So it's such a global topic, but I want to kind of focus in on the car. Sure. And, so let's just get started. Motion sickness, I think you said something like 1 in 5 dogs may suffer from it. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the signals a dog or the cat in the back seat is telling you, this is not my idea of heaven?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and speaking of that statistics, 1 in 5 dogs, that is actually what I learned when I was doing an interview with a veterinarian about Serenia, which I'll mention that later. But She actually told me recently, she said they have new data that shows that motion sickness could be closer to 1 in every 2 dogs.
Wow.
And she was telling me she thinks that that's because there's a better understanding of motion sickness nowadays.
Okay.
But it is one of the most underdiagnosed conditions in dogs. And that's because if our dog, throws up, vomits, Ralph's, whatever you want to call it.
I feel sorry for all you listeners named Ralph. Okay.
Right. If that happens when your dog's in the car, we usually know that they're car sick or they have motion sickness. But sometimes we don't think to bring that up when we're at the vet's office getting their, biannual checkup or, visiting for whatever other reason we might be there. We just kind of think, oh, it's one of those things, people get car sick too. And, what are you going to do? But because it's such a prevalent problem and because it actually affects our dog's quality of life and even our quality of life, if we're having to leave them at home because we know they're going to get sick, then I think it bears, I'm glad you're talking about this today, or we're talking about this today, because I don't think we tend to think of the domino effect that can have for our pets.
So let's go. We know that one of the good signs is that beautiful watery blah that's on your favorite upholstery or on the floor. But what are some other more subtle signs that your dog or cat is really feeling like you're rocking the boat? Sure.
So some signs could be your dog could be whining or crying. He might pant more than usual, might be drooling a lot more than usual, more than you would expect. Frequent lip licking. He or she could even be trembling or shaking. Or I like to call this pouting. It's like you just know that look on your dog's face.
Oh, yeah, that little pucker face.
How, exactly. And cats, are, I guess, a little bit more difficult to, and it's a cat thing, right? But cats might be whining or crying or howling. And then that could also be fear and anxiety, too. So there's a lot of crossover with these symptoms. And that's why it's so important to talk to your veterinarian about it, because it's hard for us sometimes to differentiate between your kitty crying because they just really don't want to be in the car, they're afraid, versus they're actually feeling sick.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So let's say, you're not a crazy driver, you're not taking hairpin turns and fast braking. That would make anybody have motion sickness. Let's say you got 2 hands on the wheel, you're driving well. I know you're not a veterinarian and I know you don't play one on TV, but what I like about you, you're very similar to me. If I'm an ex-newspaper reporter, if your mother tells you she loves you, check it out. So your reputation in the pet world depends on being able to do research before you open your mouth about a product, right?
Right.
So let's talk about Serenia, and that's CERENIA. And folks, it's not a commercial. Trust me.
No, it's not. It's an FDA-approved medication that treats vomiting in dogs due to motion sickness. And the reason I try to be really specific is because it doesn't necessarily treat nausea. It treats the actual vomiting, but it is a veterinary prescription. So you would have to be talking to your vet about the symptoms and the signs that you're witnessing from your dog. And Serenity is not for cats, it's just for dogs.
Okay.
But it can absolutely relieve your pet from vomiting. And if you are one of those people whose dog, throws up in the car, so you've been leaving them home instead of taking them on family trips, or instead of taking them to the vet, God forbid, or instead of taking them to the dog park, then this is really important because his quality of life is hampered by the fact that he throws up in the car. So Serenia comes in these little tablets. They're just kind of like little chalky tablets. And, depending on the weight of your dog, your veterinarian will prescribe how much to give. And you give it to your pet about an hour or two before the trip. And one dose is good for the whole day. So if you're going on a long road trip, you're not going to have to pull over and remember, every so often I have to, give my pet more of these tablets. But, it's made by a company, distributed, I guess, by Zoetis, which is a great big animal pharmaceutical company. Most people probably don't really know what that company is. But they do a lot of research, and they've been researching a lot about how it actually impacts our lives and our dogs' lives when we avoid car trips, which, doesn't seem like a big deal. But if you stop
it's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, don't you like a pet in the car because they're not saying, "Are we almost there yet? Are we almost there yet? Are we almost there yet? Can we stop for ice cream? Come on. And there's no,
they'll listen to whatever music you want to listen to. They're happy.
Yeah. They're not trying to drive, All right. So we want to take care of their tender tummy. That's good. Yes. But we also want to have them be in the right place in the vehicle. And that means not on your lap, behind the wheel. And certainly, what about the passenger side?
Well, the passenger side is not as safe as the back seat.
Okay.
And, I guess it depends on who you talk to, but I don't know. I'm kind of old school, and I feel like what I learned many, many years ago is that they're safest in the back seat in a crate, a carrier, or in a harness. And that depends on, of course, the size of your pet. So if we're talking about a cat, or if we're talking about a smaller dog, that could be a crate or a kennel that's buckled into the back seat. Or if you have, an SUV, it could be that back cargo section. Although, I don't know, I like to have my pets as close as I I like to look at them in the rearview mirror and talk to them.
Well, what's Chili's setup?
He wears a harness. He's got a sleepy pod harness. He's a little bit large for a carrier, and my car is not big enough to put a crate in the back, so he wears the harness, and I buckled him. That is actually my nephew dog, Grizzly.
I think Grizzly is grumbling because we didn't mention him. Hey, Grizz, we got you on the air.
We got you. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could do a whole show on Grizzly because he's only 6 months old, and let's just say they're past the honeymoon puppy phase.
Okay.
But yeah, so I put him in the back seat, passenger side back seat, because it's easier for me to turn and look at him and make sure he's comfortable and calm and to talk to him too. But yeah, and I think too, Arden, this, pets thrive on routine. And so I think it's important that people consider taking their pets on frequent jaunts around town, even if you're just running a quick errand, because the more frequent that you include your pets on a car ride, assuming they don't have motion sickness and you don't need to deal with that issue, it becomes more of an everyday thing for them too. And they know the drill, they're easier to buckle into their harness, and they know what to expect and all that good stuff. So making it part of your routine is really important too.
Well, today I kicked off my day in hot Dallas by taking a 3-mile walk with my 88-pound Bernese Mountain Dog mix, Bujo, and pet safety dog, Kona, we think she's a Jack Russell, met a Portuguese Padango, fell in love, and popped out Kona because of her funky look. But we did it very early in the morning. We had bottled water and all that. But in the back seat of my SUV, my sister-in-law, Jill, shout out Jill James, took several bathroom rugs, stitched them together, and it goes as a strip across the back of my back seat. And then we have each of them with their harnesses wearing, the seat belts plugged into the D-ring and to the seat belt. And they have their little spots. We have a little portable water collapsible bowl in the water. We know there's a mile stop. Each mile stop has one of those fountains where you can push for the dogs to get water. And we try to get back home by 8 o'clock because Dallas gets hot here. But
Right.
I'm telling you, they love the whole thing when the leash comes out. They've equated it with it, which makes it so much easier because Bujo was a real chicken when it came to coming to a vet. But now she's like, okay, the car. So I think you have something. So short trips, but make sure with this hot weather, you're not leaving them in the car.
Absolutely. And when I mentioned running an errand earlier, I definitely should point out that not an errand where you need to get out of the car and you can't take your pet in.
Right.
Drive-thrus
are made for dog lovers, right, folks?
Exactly. Or even if you take them just for a quick tool around the neighborhood, just again to get them used to the car and their harness or their crate or whatever your chosen setup is. That could be really great. Make life easier every time. And like you said, next time you pull out the leash or say want to go for a car ride, they're going to be super excited.
Now with Kona, because she's only like 35 pounds, she's in a orthopedic bed on top in the back seat with her little D-ring, and Bujo's just too darn big to do that. So they like that too because I can see both of them and I can guide the vent for my air conditioning right at them.
Yes.
I don't have a Tesla or anything, so I don't have the SUV that has the little air conditioning in the middle in the back seat. I think don't you think all vehicles should have that?
Absolutely.
For dogs and humans alike?
Absolutely. I'm surprised that not more automakers have that.
I know. So talk about your dog, Chili. How many states have you traveled with Chili?
Oh my gosh. I've not counted them up, but I can tell you this, that we got to be real experts on road trips with Chili and I because I mentioned earlier that I'm visiting my sister right now in Denver, and we've actually made 4 road trips from Tampa, where I live,
oh my gosh,
to Denver and back, which is it's 3 days each way because we don't like to drive overnight. We'll drive about 8 to 10 hours a day, and then we'll stay in a pet-friendly hotel. And so you get to be an expert pretty quickly.
Yes.
On what works and what doesn't work when you're on the road for 6 long days.
So what we're going to do is we're going to keep you guys guessing for just a minute because we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to find out the good and the bad and the Kristen Levine has had with her long treks with the sweet, sweet Chili. So everybody sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Time for a walk on the red carpet, of course. All Behave will be back in a flash right after these messages.
Pause up, everybody. This is your host, Arden Moore, and guess what? I wear different collars in the pet world. I am also a master instructor in pet first aid and CPR, and I have some great news for all you. Safety is one of the best skills you can learn for pets that you have and those that you care for from other people. That's why I'm excited to let you know we now have a 2-day online interactive pet first aid instructor program. Yep, I have teamed up with Pro Pet Hero, and I am your instructor. We use Zoom technology, which is great, so you can be wherever you are in North America. I can tap into you, and we have a class of up to 6 people at a time for 2 days, and we teach you all the veterinary-approved hands-on skills to become a pet first aid and CPR instructor. To learn more, please go to propethero.com. This is your chance to be your pet's best health ally.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hi, this is Joyce DeWitt. You may remember me from Three's Company, inviting you to have the good sense to tune in to the adorable, amazing Arden Moore on Oh Behave on Pet Life Radio.
We're back from the lot. Just checked the paper and we had a record showing at the box. The letterbox, that is. Now back to Oh Behave. Here's Arden.
Welcome back to the Oh Behave show on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I'm having a great time talking to the one and only Kristen Levine. She is a pet lifestyle expert. She is savvy in the world of pet marketing. She writes a must-read blog. I mean, she does a lot in a day. I don't know when she sleeps. But let's talk about the good, bad, and the of road trips adventures with Sweet Chili.
Yes.
Or Chili, what'd you call her? Chili
Bean Levine. Chili Bean Levine.
I think that's like a rap song, don't you?
It could be.
It could be Chili Bean Levine. Chili Bean Levine. Okay, start writing that kick butt song next instead of sleeping.
Okay, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have that jingle in my head. Okay. And then I'm going to make you listen to it, which will be
I will. I'd be happy to.
So on these road trips from Tampa to Denver, we have learned that we talked about routine earlier in the show, and routine is super important, as is familiarity. So what I like to do is bring all of Chili's favorite things, and that includes his favorite bed, his favorite toys, his favorite blanket, and then, of course, your essentials. Road trip time is not a good time to change up the diet. So we always make sure that we pack plenty of food that Chili is used to eating and his treats. So you want to keep as much the same on road trip as possible, right? Because there's, you're going to be visiting different places, and there's going to be different smells and scents, and their whole like timing of their day is changed. So you kind of want to buffer that with keeping certain things the same.
Yeah, I do swear that dogs and cats wear invisible watches. They know exactly when breakfast and dinner should be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely they do. One thing I learned the hard way is the first time we took this long road trip was I thought to myself, you know what? Nowadays, so many hotel chains are pet friendly. I'm sure we'll just find one on the road. I'm not going to make a reservation. And plus, I was thinking, well, what if I feel like driving further or not as far? So anyway, so on the first trip, I think our first stop was Chattanooga. I pulled into the first pet friendly hotel. They were booked. Uh-oh. I pulled into another one, and they weren't pet friendly, even though their website said they were. So it took me to a third. We finally got lucky on the third place, but this is the end of a 10-hour driving day. I'm exhausted. We just want to go to bed.
You can't say, hey, Chili, take over. I'm going to crash in the back.
Exactly. As much as that would be nice, as much as I'd like to. So definitely make reservations in advance to stay at a pet-friendly hotel and know what the pet deposit is and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that could be a shocker. If your dog has more than one paw, it'll be $100 extra. I go to the ones where the two pets are free, regardless of size. I'm not going to mention the name, but I travel a lot with them. But there are a lot of, and you could, it's nice when I just went to a cat conference in St. Louis, and the hotel was very pet friendly. And everybody, on staff made an attempt to say hi and greet your pet and all that. But yeah, there's good and bad, aren't there?
There are, yeah. So definitely do your research before and make those reservations in advance so you've got a place to stay when you're pulling into town. The other thing that I've learned to do over these trips is, like I mentioned before, bring your dog or your cat's favorite things. Right. And so what we'll do is once we get checked into our hotel room, once I kind of get settled, I will feed Chili. And again, you want to keep it as close to your regular feeding time as possible, which can be challenging on the road. And then I surprise him with his favorite toy, which in his case, he likes one of those wobble toys that spits out the kibble. And so then he's got a little bit of comforts of home, and then he usually crashes after that. You also want to make sure that you're making frequent stops on the road to make sure that, obviously they've got to go potty, and also they need to stretch their legs. And also it'll be easier for your dog to sleep in the car while you're driving if they've had a little bit of activity along the way.
So what do you think? Every 3 hours, every 4 hours? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we usually aim between 3 and 4 max. My bladder can't hold out more than 4. So.
This show is brought to you by...
Right? But the other tricky thing on the road, and this is another thing to research, is the rest stops and or dog parks along your route. Yeah. Because you don't want to just pull over at any random. I mean, you may have to pull over at a random place, but I discovered through trial and error that truck stops, Chili does not like truck stops. They're too noisy. And so when we would stop at them, he wouldn't go potty. He just wanted to get back in the car. So that's why ahead of time,
and they
it's
usually
a good idea.
Don't have a lot of grass or anything.
They don't. You might find one little patch of grass, and you know what that probably looks like, right? Because people unfortunately don't clean up after their dogs. But I prefer the rest stops because they usually have a pet area or a lot of grassy area, and so that's important as well. And then, I don't know if you want to go into, talking about pet insurance or not, but in terms of having peace of mind.
Because oopsies happen. You're talking to America's Pet Health and Safety Coach. So
yes. Okay. So then we have to go there.
Yeah. Because our pets don't live in a protective bubble, and we didn't win the lotto. Did you? Did you win the lotto?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right.
I haven't checked my numbers today, but. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was our second trip that we took with Chili to Denver, we ended up in the emergency room on Christmas Eve.
Oh, nice. Yikes.
Yes. And it was because Chili had a urinary tract infection. And fortunately, I have pet insurance for Chili, and I have had it since he was a year old. And the great thing about pet insurance, and obviously pet insurance, of course, differs from company to company, but for the most part, as far as I'm aware, and I've looked into 3 or 4 of them, pet insurance is will reimburse you. You don't have to just go to your vet.
Right.
And you don't have to go to like an in-network vet. As long as it's a licensed veterinarian in the United States and sometimes Canada counts too, you can.
And we have listeners there. Yay.
Yep. So your claim, depending on, of course, if it's an emergency or an unexpected vet visit, that's the whole reason you have pet insurance, is for those unexpected things that pop up. So think about the peace of mind you would have on the road if you have pet insurance and you know if your pet's not acting right or throwing up in the car or not going potty, then you don't have to worry about incurring a large vet bill because of this issue. And you don't have to question yourself. You know what? I'm gonna wait and see how it goes because I don't have the budget to spend right now. You don't want to have to worry about that. You don't want money to prevent you from doing what's right for your pet.
So how did Chili do? Okay? UTI all cleared up?
He did okay. UTI cleared up. Fortunately, we were staying for a whole week. So, he was fine by the time we had to get back in the car. But that was an emergency room visit on Christmas Eve, and it wasn't inexpensive. But fortunately, we've got reimbursed 80% of what we had to pay out. So
Good.
So definitely consider pet insurance if you haven't already done so.
The other thing I want to get in, if we can, a little bit is, I know we're talking about Chili, but for our feline fans out there, you got a couple of cats?
Well, we lost one of our kitties a few months ago, but we still have Olivia. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
We're going to be adopting another one, but very soon. But Olivia is my 14-year-old black and white beautiful kitty.
Oh, tuxedo.
And I have to say, the only road trips Olivia takes is to the veterinarian.
Oh, okay.
However, by the way, Arden, I want to congratulate you on your fear-free certification.
Oh, yeah. I finally, it was pretty fun, folks. And this is an aside for everybody to help you. Both Kristen and I are big believers in your emotional state is transmitted to the end of the leash or the carrier for your dog or cat. And Dr. Marty Becker has the big movement going, Fear-Free Pets, and you can go to fearfreepets.com. But it's all about reducing fear, anxiety, and stress with really cool, practical things. So I went and took and completed my certification. Here's the funny thing, Kristen. Marty said, take the veterinary track. I'm like, I'm not a veterinarian. So I passed that, and it hurt my brain. But then I'm like, then I have to do everything with the veterinarian. So we talked, and he goes, well, take the animal trainer one. So I'm doubly certified.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That is awesome.
My brain hurts really hard, but you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that, because emotions and how we approach an animal, how we talk to them, right? That does help or hurt.
Absolutely. And how we prepare for it. So this is how, and I learned this probably maybe 3 or 4 years. I'm on the Fear-Free Advisory. I'm in the Fear-Free Advisory group. So, and I have not certified yet, but you're inspiring me.
Don't do the vet track.
Okay. Well, good tip.
Okay.
I learned well in advance that you don't, if you wait until the day of your kitty's vet appointment and then you get out the little cat carrier and you think that you're going to just pick up Kitty and put her in there and zip it up and off you go, that's probably not going to happen. Right. So what I do now is her cat carrier is always out. It's always out I have a little guest bedroom. We call it her room.
But it says it's not a guest bedroom, folks. Cats are saying it's Olivia's room.
It's Olivia's room. And what I'll do is I'll periodically surprise her by I'll hide some kibble in there or treats for her or some catnip. And just kind of giving her reasons to check it out and not be intimidated by it and learn to, think of it as a positive place where she finds goodies.
Good. And so that's helped?
And we also have, that along with the fact that we also have the pheromone diffusers in the wall in her room.
Okay.
And so that's why it's a great room for her, because it's just her happy place, when if we
chocolate chip cookies baking it for us, right?
Exactly. So when it is the day of her vet appointment, it's much easier for me to get her in her carrier. I'll put, something special in there, like a little tuna fish freeze-dried flakes or something like that. Get her in there, I zip her up. And it also can be helpful too. And I don't need to do this anymore, but I used to put her in there, zip it up and kind of carry her around the house, just so she got used to that feeling, the motion. But now we're
being told to really hold the bottom so you're not holding the handle, because it really could cause motion sickness, right? In a cat.
No kidding. Yeah, definitely want to support the bottom for sure.
Yeah.
Those practices have made it really easy and stress-free for the day that we do take her to the vet. So I just put her in, zip her up, and she's fine in the car. She's never been one to howl or carry on in the car, so I've kind of gotten lucky with her, I think. And we unfortunately don't have a fear-free certified practice near us.
Yeah.
But I have yet, and I know it's coming soon, but trust me, I've been talking to my vet about fear-free for a couple of years now. And so he knows, when we're coming in, he pretends that, like he's got it all, set up.
Well, I'm lucky. I'm going to shout out to Casa Linda Animal Clinic in Dallas. Dr. Deborah Charles is our vet, and she was one of the first veterinarians certified. And so it's really made a difference. But one thing before we get off the air, because I'm just dying, and I did tease all the readers, let's talk rah, rah, cheer, cheer, go Bucks. But more importantly, guys, let's talk about how you became a cheerleader, but also something that you did for the troops before you retired.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then I'll make it a relatively quick story. So I moved to Florida from Chicago when I got married.
Okay.
Back in, I don't even want to tell you what year it was, but anyway, suffice it to say, it was a while ago. I tried out 3 years in a row. I was in my 20s. I never made it.
Okay.
Fast forward, I'm 35 years old. I'm driving down the road one day. I hear an ad on the radio for Buccaneer cheerleader tryouts, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give that a try again.
Oh my gosh.
So I was 35 years old when I made the squad. I was the oldest, most mature, whatever you want to call it, in the NFL that year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And it was, but you know what? I really think the reason I made the squad that year was because we had this coach she was just amazing. And she said, I want enough diverse women on my squad so that every woman in the stands on game day can look down and identify with one of these ladies on the field. Cool. Anyway, so I cheered for 2 years. It was just had the time of my life, Arden. I'm a huge football fan anyway.
I'm an ex-sports writer, so we get along.
Yeah.
I was weaned on the Bears.
The Bears, yes.
Yeah, I'm from the Chicago area like you, and then I went to San Diego for many years, and I can't even say Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not even going there. They are just simply the Chargers.
Yes.
Forever and a day. So are you a Tampa Bay fan?
I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. Yeah, still am. And then I only cheered for 2 years, and I decided to hang up the pom-poms and start my business, which was Fetching Communications, back in 2002. And guess what happened?
What?
The year I hung up my pom-poms and I decided not to try out, that was the year that our Buccaneers went to the Super Bowl and won.
Oh,
so I have the worst timing ever.
Sorry about that. Well,
anyway.
But when you were on the stands, I mean, can you give an inside tip about life as a cheerleader in the NFL? And this is keep it PG. I'm sure you do. Of course, but what's something quirky or something people wouldn't realize about you guys?
I would say that, and this is in my experience in those years that I was there, that you would be surprised at the caliber of women on that field. These are not just, girls that, want to date football players or just want to be looked at. There were some incredible women on the field with me. And I'm sure that's the case for a lot of other teams. I'm sure, and then there's your rogue women who, make a bad name for, NFL cheerleading. But these were educated women. These were single moms. These were women with careers. There was a dentist and an attorney on the squad with me the years that I cheered.
Nice. And was it hard learning the cheers? I mean, were you even a high school cheerleader?
I was not, but I was a dancer. So in the NFL, it's more about dancing as opposed to, stunting and tricks. So that was what worked in my favor is I had a dance background.
Okay.
But I will tell you that those women work very hard to make the squad. And it's not just about how they look or how they dance, but they have to pass interviews and they have to know about football. And, so a lot goes into it. And
and you don't get enough money to retire on, right?
Heck no.
But
unfortunately not.
Before we leave, you did get to visit the troops. Talk about that.
I did. So I was cheering in 2001 during, when 9/11 happened. And, obviously so many things changed and all the securities at stadiums changed. And when I was finishing up my season, I had an opportunity to go on a DOD tour, which is a Department of Defense tour, to entertain troops over in Egypt, Uzbekistan, and Turkey. We were supposed to go into Afghanistan, but the fighting was really bad when we got over there. So we didn't end up doing that. But yeah, it was an opportunity of a lifetime to travel to the other side of the world and to be there to support the men and women who were putting their lives on the line, to ensure our freedom here in this country. And it was that's why I don't feel too bad about not cheering for the Super Bowl, because I got to do that. And
I think that's the Super Bowl right there.
That was my Super Bowl.
Yeah, wow, that is so cool.
So,
folks, we would, and I hope we'll just put the pressure on. I would love to have you come back to speak on other topics, because I think you're awesome. And we did get to say a quick hello while we were both at Global, but you're doing great things. And folks, I want you to go check out the KristenLevine.com site. I love it. It's Kristen Levine, Pet Living, Stories, Science, and Advice for Living Happier and Healthier with Pets, because we're in this together. Is there any parting message you'd like to say to our listeners?
No, just thank you so much I wanted to thank you, Arden, for all that you do for dedicating your career to pets and people. And I'm just honored and delighted to be on the show, and I'd be happy to come back. And I'm a big pet adoption advocate. So
that's right. I saw some of that. You have gotten over 1,000. What's the total?
Well, yeah, I counted it up a few years ago, and it was over 1,000. So it might be. I'm sure it's more now. But when I worked at the SPCA, every single week I carted dogs and cats from the shelter to different radio and TV stations around Tampa Bay to try to get them adopted. And so, I know you're an adoption proponent too. So I'm preaching to the choir here.
No, I call them adoption alums instead of adoption rescues, because really, let's boost the shelters. They're doing pretty good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So support your local shelters and rescues, and adopt, don't shop.
All right. That's well put. This lady knows her stuff, folks. Again, I was very happy to have Kristen Levine as our guest. Please dash over to our website and all our social media outlets. At the same time, I also want to shout out to my executive producer of Pet Life Radio. That is Mark Winter, the Wizard of Paws. Believe it or not, guys, Oh Behave is now for the 4th time a finalist for the Podcast Awards. And here's the fun part. Kristen, you'll love this. They don't even have a friggin' pet category. I have to compete. My Oh Behave show is competing against in the kids and family category.
Are you kidding me?
So maybe people like you and we can broaden the Podcast Awards.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very honored. Of course, you don't win anything, just accolades, but at least I can say I'm a 4-time finalist. The other thing is, somebody named Oprah said Arden's show is one of our top 3 pet podcast favorites. And it was accolades again. No ka-ching. Oh, well. But everything is priceless when you're with pets. Anyway, so I'm very honored about that. We have now been on the air a decade. And so we were one of the first podcasts, especially in the genre of pets. So it means a lot. And I just keep enjoying getting opportunities like having people like you on my show, because we're going to make this planet a better pet-friendly place and a pet-safer one. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Most certainly.
All right, guys.
Congratulations, Arden.
And so until next time, guys, this is your flea-free host, Arden Moore, delivering just 2 words to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there. Oh, behave.
Coast to coast and around the world, it's Oh Behave with Arden Moore. Find out why cats and dogs do the things they do, and get the latest buzz from wagging tongues and tails in Rin Tin Tinseltown. From famous pet experts and best-selling authors to television and movie stars, you'll get great tail-wagging pet tips and have a fur-flying fun time. All Behave with America's pet edutainer, Arden Moore. Every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.